Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for such a warm greeting. I appreciate that very much. And it's an honor to be here with you today, though. But I do have to start on a little bit of a somber note because, as was mentioned in terms of the fires, 9 months ago, where we were in the city, but you might know that in the last couple of hours, the Department of Justice announced an arrest of an individual who deliberately started the fire on January 1st. So this is going to be a tough day because, to me, when things like this happen, announcements are made, you go back to that day. And I just, my thoughts will be with all of the families and individuals that are still not in their homes. And just thinking about the trauma that they're going to feel today and hearing about it all day. Before the day is out, there'll be more information that comes out in terms of the response that happened after that. But having said that, let me just thank and recognize the Goldhirsch Foundation for their service to LA and their partnership with my office to engage Angelenos and to build excitement for the major global events. With all that we've been through, the fires, the trauma around immigration, our city and our region has been more united than I can remember. And it's with that spirit of unity and purpose that we move forward and in less than a year be welcoming the world for major, major events. And I think that philanthropy and the role that the philanthropic community plays is always central. To me, as was mentioned more than 30 years ago, I started an organization called Community Coalition because I was worried about what was happening in the city at that time. So to me, to end up being mayor, it's been like a full circle in my life because in the 90s, we had the trauma and the crisis of crack cocaine and the way it was impacting especially the African-American population. We also had AIDS. We also had violence. We had 1,000 homicides in 1 year. And so I left my comfortable teaching job on the faculty of USC Medical School and started the coalition because I was worried that the response of society was just to lock everybody up. We didn't have the term mass incarceration. And some of the problems we were dealing with in the 1990s was homelessness. It was just beginning. Nobody really cared about it because it was South Central and downtown LA. And then I was in Congress, and I loved being in Congress. It wasn't that I got tired of it, but I was worried about the crisis that was happening here around homelessness. And I had flashbacks to the 90s that we were getting ready to do the same thing over and over again, criminalize a social and economic and a health problem. But I believe then, as I do now, in the ability of coalitions, not just to come together to sing Kumbaya, but coalitions are the way you amass your power and authority and are able to move policy. And I believe my theory of change begins with an inside and an outside strategy. And so when I went to Sacramento, started another coalition up there around foster care. When I went to Washington, D.C., started a nonprofit there called the National Foster Youth Institute. But every one of those organizations and every one of those efforts was built with philanthropic support. And you need people in office who are committed to change and have a set of values that are committed to change, but you need your outside partners as well. And so thinking of the partners I have in elected office, I have to point to my dear friend and colleague and partner over there, Catherine Barger. We work together hand in glove and have worked together for years. Way before I ever thought about becoming an elected official. But it's bringing people together inside and outside that we're able to bring about change. And so working with dedicated service providers, we have brought homelessness down for 2 years in a row. We started an Office of Strategic Partnership, and our head of that, Amanda Daflos, who is here today, is bringing us together and preparing us for the world events. So we started a project called Shine LA, and that's a way of building spirit and unity and getting Angelenos involved in preparing our city to invite the world. So the last Saturday of every month, we get together and we do projects, whether it's beautification projects. At the end of September, I was making meatballs. We made thousands of meatballs at one of our social service providers that focuses on homelessness. And the meatballs were to feed thousands of unhoused Angelenos. But bringing people together, we've partnered with the Dodgers, the California Community Foundation, and several other foundations to assist people post-immigration raids. For a family to lose an income with these raids, that can send that family into homelessness, aside from the terror and fear that families have felt since June 5th. June 6th, when the raids began, and how now that terror and sense of fear has spread around the country. We have to stick together these days while we go through these changes within our country. The nonprofit sector, the philanthropic community is absolutely essential, and I'm proud to say for the last 35 years I've worked in very close partnership with many different foundations, and we just couldn't bring about the policy change, the social change, the political change that is needed without the philanthropic community. And I want to congratulate all of the grantees that are here today and the work of 2050 and everything that you do. But I also want to say that as we go through these tough times in our country together, we have to be on alert, because the nonprofit sector every few years is attacked. The philanthropic community every few years is attacked. The questions that are being raised today are not new questions. This happens I can remember back 20 years, it comes up. And so we have to be prepared for that. We can't necessarily go about our work as we have over the last few years. We need to adjust. We never lose our mission, we never lose our values, we never lose our purpose, but we might need to modify a few things to weather this storm. I know that we will be able to do that with all the partners that are here today. And again, I just want to congratulate all of the grantees who receive the award today. Thank you very much.